All right, I think by now you know what time it is. If after 26 episodes you haven't figured that out, then I don't know, I can't help you. Maybe you can buy a clock and you can buy yourself some time. Oh, trying to shorten the intro for time's sake, for mime time's sake. Oh, and I'm gonna just get into it real hard. So, since the episode I published on New Year's Eve, I've been on quite a hiatus, half a year. I'm not proud of it. Here are my excuses. I've had a back injury that I'm still recovering from. I've been out of work for several months now. I haven't worked out. I've been losing my gains, what little gains that I had. I've gotten even more out of shape than I already was. And there are personal issues, family issues, and more, and, problems. So, human as I be, I kept putting off putting up more episodes. I'll do it once my back gets better. I'll get back in the rhythm of things once I fully recover and I'm 100% again. Oh, I'll schedule that interview tomorrow. I'll get back to GarageBand and edit my shit maybe next week. I'm going through a lot right now. I need to go to the hospital and do this, and I need to spend time with my mom, blah, 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 blah. It's okay if I don't publish any episodes for a while because these things are urgent. And these may be valid reasons, but I know deep down inside, nothing's stopping me from working on these episodes. What's so hard about putting out an episode consistently, you might ask? Well, just with doing anything consistently, the tedium of writing out an episode, writing out the description, uploading it to the podcast distributor, publishing it on the website, all that work, and it's not even marketing and sharing the podcast itself. How are people going to hear what I have to say unless I'm not actively promoting it myself, right? It's countless behind-the-scenes tasks and tiny movements that add up to the big picture. Countless keystrokes and countless clicks that you'll never see. That's the boring part. It's all the tiny little things you have to do. They're not difficult. It's not difficult to start a podcast and record something, make it, kind of decent, and then upload it. It's really not hard. It's just there are countless steps that you have to do over and over and over again. The best part of the podcast for me actually is recording. The best and easiest part is just listening to my guests and recording our conversations, having a great conversation. When it flows naturally, we're both engaged. Nothing comes easier. Nothing is more enjoyable. Nothing is more fulfilling and cooler than when I engage with my guest on an important topic. Except the whole purpose of recording is to share it with others. That's the whole point of the podcast. It's to share the fascinating, awesome conversations that I would otherwise have with so many amazing people with you, the audience. What do I want out of this podcast? What's my vision for you, the listener, and for me? For one, I want you to overcome the challenges and identity issues that I've had, if you share them, because I don't see anyone else bringing the perspective that I have. I want people to think they can accept their racial, ethnic, and cultural identity and embrace it wholeheartedly, wholesomely, honorably, while retaining their individuality and personality. I'm not Korean, as they say. I'm Korean American. I fully acknowledge my Korean side, as well as my American side, as well as my individual self. I cherish and celebrate all these things. I can reconcile these things together when I couldn't do that in the past. Not only that, I think I can communicate these ideas very well to other people, whether or not they share the same issues. Nobody ever taught me these things. I had to figure these things out for myself through experience, but holy shit, this sensitive, delicate, nuanced perspective is priceless to me. This personal cultural paradigm I have was bought by years of confusion, doubt, self-loathing, depression, inconsideration, self-introspection. It's cultivated and becomes even richer as time goes by. As I gain more knowledge and experience, I gain more depth. I believe if you can come to full acceptance, peace, and love with who you are as a person, you can unburden yourself with a lot of guilt, a lot of negative thinking, and get faster get faster to where you want to be in life. Needless to say, I'm still working on this myself, but the progress is tangible. The progress is real, and it shows in every aspect in my life. So if I can somehow distill the best wisdom of my life to help encourage you or help better equip you to handle some of these deep personal, emotional, psychological struggles, then you can perhaps achieve a similar level of the glorious fulfillment, gratitude, and contentment with life that I have been able to reach. If one person could change their mind or heart, could try to understand their parents better, could understand the fucked up parts of their culture or the parts that they hate or that they deny, if they could come to peace with that, if they could try to understand why the world is so fucked up and then accept people for who they are anyways and love on them anyways so that they become a more compassionate, peaceful, loving person, well, that is a priceless personal spiritual evolution that I contributed to in some way. I can't go back in time to my 10-year-old, 15-year-old self and tell him, 10-year-old mime, 15-year-old mime, everything you're going through, it's okay. I know it feels like nobody else understands you. I know it feels like nobody cares. I know you hate the world, you hate God, you hate your family, you hate yourself. I know how much it sucks that some kids at school call you chink, go back to your country when you're not Chinese and you don't even know what Korea is because you never lived there and your first language is English. I know how much it sucks that your parents don't even speak the same language as you and how extremely unfair and frustrating it is that nobody else around you seems to be going through the same unique struggle that you have. I know how frustrating and ridiculous it is that everyone, including your parents, mock you for getting fat, but insist you eat more and more. So you get stuck in this vicious cycle of just being depressed and not wanting to do anything but play video games and escape from reality. And so you don't work out, you don't walk, you don't burn any energy, and then your mom just feeds you and you just get more fat and everyone calls you fat. I want to say, mime, all of these things will pass. You will get older and you will get wiser. You will get leaner, stronger, smarter, better. You'll become respected among your peers and a benefit to society. You'll be a benefit to humanity. You'll be a face people will be glad to see. You'll transcend the petty barriers and grievances that people still get stuck on well into their old age until they die. You'll possess wisdom from experiences that people wouldn't believe. You'll become me, yourself, the dream person who you want to be. Standing tall, well-dressed, sleek, sharp, focused, charismatic, charming, handsome, beautiful, elegant, articulate, brave, dashing, confident, strong, compassionate, magnanimous. You'll have moments where you're standing on top of the world at the greatest parties you've ever thrown, and everyone loves you, popping bottles at the table and dancing till the sun rises. What I meant to say is you'll be popping bottles, dancing in the moonlight until the sun rises. And you'll have moments where you're standing on a balcony overlooking a gorgeous beach on an island paradise on a trip of a lifetime with your best childhood friend and your girlfriend, with the people that you love. And you meet amazing, cool, interesting individuals from all over the world who accept and love you for who you are. A lot of these experiences, all these good things, will come by luck. But you'll miss that luck if you don't put the work in to make yourself into the person who earns those things. And in order to really put the work in, you have to believe in yourself. Mime, believe in yourself. Start now. Forget all your excuses. If you're miserable, take action, do something. Clean your room, organize your shit. Learn as much as you can about how to improve yourself. Learn about your emotions and why you feel and act the way you do. Pick up a job and earn some money and save some money and see if you like it or if you hate it and learn from that. Meditate, journal, taking good influences from figures who inspire you past and present, reading books or going on the internet. The only thing stopping you is yourself. I wish I could have told all these things to myself. I can only imagine that I'd be 10 times who I am today in any given aspect of my life, maybe whether financially or personally or network-wise. Well, I can't go back into my past and tell my 10, 15-year-old self all these things. But I can tell you now, I'm a broken record. I'm just saying the same things over and over again. And even if you're not 10 or 15, or even if you're older than me, you can still learn from a lot of these things, because I think these are principles that are broken down. Even if you're not my age, or you're not Korean or even Asian, if you have this kind of similar third culture kid struggle, or you have an identity issue, if you're half Asian, or maybe you're black or just Indian, and you have trouble accepting some part of yourself, well, the principle is to accept yourself. Accept who you are, totally, where you come from. I don't know, maybe you're from the Hmong people, or maybe you're from one of those tiny islands out in the Pacific. Maybe you come from a people or a tribe. There's only like 10,000 of you or whatever, and you speak a unique language that no one else speaks. And then somehow you learn English and you're listening to this, understanding what I'm saying. And I'm saying, like, we should all be proud and humbled with our heritage and where we come from. Proud and humble. These are some of the ideas that, I need to flesh out and get more and more into. But man, if someone had just told me, Mime, just accept who you are. It's okay. You're going through a period of confusion. You had the identity crisis. You can say you are Korean and you are American and you are Mime. You are who you are. And you can be proud of that, and you can be grateful for who you are and where you come from. And you have a unique individual slice of reality just being you. And so be the best version of what that is, of what you are, of who you are. Don't waste your thoughts and your energy and complain, oh, I wish I was like one of my white or black classmates who they speak English with their parents. Like I wish I was just like a more normal American, since, at the time, like where I lived, I was really a minority, being one of the only Asian or Korean kids growing up. Mime, don't worry about that. I know it seems lonely and whatever, but their struggles are different. They have different problems, different social, cultural, individual experiences, and you have yours, and yours is special, and you can learn from your struggles and just be who you are, because there's no one else that can be you. Don't be too worried or confused that you're not Korean enough, that you don't speak Korean at the time. Because even if you do become super fluent in Korean and master the language, you'll never be Korean because you never lived in Korea, was surrounded by a bunch of Koreans. This is how it is. It's too late. You can't change yourself. You can't change that part. So just accept who you are, because there are enough Korean people alive being Korean. I don't know if this makes sense to you guys. Like if you're Japanese Canadian and you grew up in Canada and you kind of go back to Japan, kind of like how I came from America to come back to, I grew up in America and came back to Korea to find myself and to get in touch with my Korean side and all that. Well, if you're Japanese Canadian growing up in Canada, speaking Canadianese, they speak Canadianese, I hear, and then come back to Japan and try to find your roots and stuff, you will always be Canadian. You'll always have that Western North American culture in you, and you can learn the culture, and you can, like learn to fit within the Japanese hierarchical society and blah, 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 blah. But you'll always be who you are because of your experiences, and that's okay. There's enough Japanese people being Japanese. There's enough Chinese people being Chinese. And if you come from diaspora, it's okay to kind of just let that be, because you are unique in the sense that you're a subset of that larger population that had a different experience, right? For better or for worse, you don't have to judge it as good or bad. You can say it's a good thing if you want, if that helps you. Right now, I love Korea. I love Korean people. And at the same time, I'm glad I grew up in America instead of Korea, because there are a lot of fucked things about living in Korea. It's a hard life for a lot of the people who live here for all sorts of reasons. Economically, job market availability, right? The how families treat each other, how parents treat their kids, the whole social, call it, Confucianism, rigid hierarchical, whatever, all the worst things that you could think about, Asian collectivist bullshit and blah 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 blah, that I can judge, but I've done that a lot already, so I kind of just want to give up on that because it's boring to me now. And I try to see the more compassionate, charitable side, because I find that actually makes a lot more sense. That's actually a more practical, realistic, honest paradigm to work from. That's potentially constructive, that we can build upon, as opposed to just knocking things down and criticizing. I mean, criticism is important, but then you can also appreciate societies and people, how they turned out the way that they are, and maybe that was the best thing that that was the best knowledge or philosophy or system of government or whatever that they had. They didn't do anything, but they didn't have anything better, so that's just what they had, and it got us this far. Sorry, I keep going on tangents, but my point being is that, I am really grateful to have grown up in America, and I'm very, very proud and grateful to be part of this Western American heritage. I'm humbled. I'm humbled to be Korean and American, and I'm proud to be both as well. Not proud in the sense that I did anything to deserve these things. My parents are the ones who, brought us to America, and obviously, no one chooses to be born Korean or any race or ethnicity. No one chooses that. Duh. That's the obvious thing. People say like, well, man, it's really stupid, to really identify as a country or like a race or whatever, man, because you didn't choose to do that, man. It's like really like just pure individualism. And I don't disagree necessarily. I think I'm the most individualist person that I know. But I see that these are just two halves of the same coin. What do they say? Two sides of the same coin, two halves of the same kimbap or whatever. It's yin and yang, right? Individualism and collectivism. You can't have one without the other. But anyway, sorry, I'm going on a tangent again, and I need to save this for other episodes. But yeah, so I want to share these ideas, and I want that to have an impact on you guys, so you can have a more nuanced, broader perspective on these things, and we can talk a bit, and so I can learn as well, and then we can get over our victimhood mentalities, and we can accept ourselves and stuff. So with this podcast, I'm trying to be like a Tony Robbins-esque intellectual who's touching on these issues of culture and identity, so that we can become the best versions of ourselves, basically, right? So give me some time, guys. I'm still trying to really, really hone down the message for y'all. And just before I forget, if you're listening, and if you've listened to other episodes and given me some feedback, thank you so much for your feedback. I really appreciate it. So if I make this impact with this podcast, if one person just kind of changes his mind and it's like, oh, you know what Mime said is real. So maybe like I can just get over my problems, or I can get over my identity issue a bit, and I can come to peace with who I am. Well, maybe I don't need to think about it in this way. Am I Korean? Am I American? If I'm, Chinese, French, am I Chinese or am I French? And okay, maybe I'm just both. And you know what? I am who I am. And I just need to learn to come to greater acceptance and love myself and do things and be active and like live my best life. Because you can listen to Tony Robbins, and I think he's great. I mean, he's motherfucking Tony Robbins and all that. But he might not speak to your specific issue if you are Asian diaspora or a third culture kid or whatever. If you're kind of like me, where I feel like these identity cultural issues are ingrained into like my psychological trauma and problems and my personality growing up, if you're kind of like really, really weird, I don't know, the way that I am, then maybe you want to hear these things. And if you hear this and you heal, and that's a positive impact in your life, one person, well, I want to multiply that by 1,000, by 10,000 people, by 100,000 people, by millions if possible. I want to make that impact so that you can save time. We can all save time. Mime time. Oh. So, right? I'm being transparent here. You know what I want to do with this podcast, listener, Mime Timer. And I have all these, delusions of grandeur, these lofty notions of what, I think how people or Asian diaspora or whatever can, improve themselves and get over their bullshit. How am I going to get anywhere close to that? If no one else is doing it, well, it might as well be me. If no one else is doing it, then why not me? I should be the one to do it. How am I going to get anywhere close to that vision? Halfway or even 10% if I can't even overcome obstacles in my own mind and be disciplined in my own life. Even though my back pain is such that I have to be lying flat in my back or just standing straight up most of the time, does that mean I need to be resting or relaxing, as in watching Netflix and YouTube videos and just laying on my back and do nothing at all? By letting myself be preoccupied with distractions, like, oh, my back hurts, I can just put the podcast off the next week. Like, I'm going through some stressful time. I'm going through some stressful shit with my family back home, or I can't lift weights anymore and I'm gaining weight and bleeding money because I can't work. No, I have plenty of time. I have plenty of time. And the easy thing is when you're busy and you have all these distractions is be like, oh, I'm distracted. I can't do that. But now I have even less of an excuse, actually. Like in the beginning, I thought like, oh, my back hurts, so I shouldn't be sitting at a desk to work on the thing. So actually, I want to get back into it, but first I need to be 100% and get this back issue in control so I can sit down at the desk. But I have plenty of time, so I can do this. All those distractions, that's all they are. They're distractions. I already know what I need to do. I just need to do it. I need to do the work, real work. There are no shortcuts. Okay, Mime, if sitting down for an extended period of time hurts, even with proper posture, then I have to stand up and just work from the computer on a standing desk setup. I just recently figured this out. If you could see what I have now, it's kind of ghetto. I just put a coffee table on top of the desk in my bedroom. And I have my MacBook on top of a copy of Carl Sagan's Cosmos to elevate it a bit more, and a monitor screen on top of two separate index card drawer boxes as a stand. And the thing is, I could have figured this out months ago. I could have put aside my excuses and just taken the little steps to remove the barriers to what I need to do to get my MacBook open and just start working right away. I could have figured this out way earlier. I could have put aside my excuses and gone to work months ago, in spite of the pain and stress and other shit going on. And had I done that, I would have felt a lot better about my life situation, that I'm getting the important stuff done, what I'm passionate about, which is like sharing this message and this content with y'all. That in spite of all the other shit that's been going on, that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm on the right track. So as long, I gave this excuse to myself. So as long as I didn't improve my back pain or improve my injury, I was going to take a break from my podcast. Well, is working on my podcast stressful? It doesn't have to be. It's always difficult to come face to face with the reality that there are no shortcuts, to look in the mirror and say that I've been wasting my time, that I'm allowing the circumstances of my life to dictate my behavior. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Deep down inside, I know the truth. The main thing holding me back, surprisingly, isn't my back. See what I did there? It's me. I'm holding me back, not my back injury. And I'm the one who lived a bit of a reckless lifestyle. I'm the one who chose to have improper health and fitness regimen with stress that led to this injury in my lower back. It's like a herniated disc with sciatica. That's probably from years of slouching on the seats in the subway and bus, taking naps, not having the right posture and weightlifting, and who knows, however many years of me sitting in front of a computer or TV playing video games, right? A steady diet of carbs and booze probably didn't help either. So this is all my fault. This injury is my fault, or at least it's my responsibility to address and resolve this injury, as well as faithfully return to the endeavor that I've committed. It's still my responsibility to be diligent and disciplined and put out this podcast. My biggest excuse is that while I was planning on pumping out episodes back in February, this back problem didn't improve. And in the end, I'm injured and the world doesn't care. You don't care. I still got to get this shit done, because if I don't, who will? Who else is going to get me closer to that dream vision I just mentioned? The glory of helping others engage and deal with issues that we have, if not me. All that enormous, priceless benefit of psychological, spiritual healing, peace, understanding, joy, and love that I could help impart to others in digital distributed media. If I'm not standing at my laptop working, recording this episode, and editing the clips, reducing clips, adjusting sound clips on a track in GarageBand, and removing, say, ahs and ums and filler words and unnecessary bullshit, if I'm not checking the levels and whatever, doing all the tedious, boring little steps that it takes for me to produce and publish an episode, then how are you, my audience, supposed to listen and receive all this awesome content. All the mind-blowing nuclear weapons grade philosophical cultural insights. The bleeding cutting edge. I mean, how am I supposed to give you that bleeding cutting edge if I'm too lazy to even sharpen the knife? It's like I want to change the world and give myself and other people millions of dollars, but I got to do something boring and not flashy. In order to make this happen, I got to chip away at a big block of stone for a while with a chisel and then do that over and over again. Little tiny incisions and little chips. But then I hurt my back and say, well, I shouldn't be working, but it's only small, tiny movements, keystrokes and clicks and organizing files and texts and websites. It's not a big swing in energy or something that is hurting my back, unless I sit down for a very long time. Oh, I can't sit down and work at this giant block of stone that if I chip away at, it's going to give me an immense priceless reward. Okay, I can't sit down. Then I just have to adjust and stand up. It's that simple. And I got to stop wasting time. Albeit, producing and marketing a podcast online can seem like a multifaceted, complex process. I got to be disciplined, learn from my mistakes, and be consistent and meticulous with the basic steps that are actually quite simple. Deep down inside, I know the truth. I know the main thing holding me back is always me, my excuses. I fall down, I make excuses and waddle around in my excuses for a while, very pitifully, like a weak-willed person. I struggle. I get back up again. I put out more episodes. I keep going and going until I no longer see a point, in which case I move on to something else, but until then, I keep going. I'm still here, and I'm very grateful if you're listening to this too. I don't want to let excuses run my life. If I did, if I just defaulted to a lack of inertia toward real meaningful fulfillment in my life, I wouldn't be where I am today and I'd be miserable. Now, I know this about myself. Now I know how I can make excuses and get distracted from my main path or from the thing that I think is meaningful towards me. And it's okay to have setbacks and make mistakes. This is part of the journey. This is the war of art. Yes, there are serious stressful problems or unexpected factors in my life that take me back. But I must look at them as obstacles placed in my path to test and improve my resilience, my diligence, my dedication. Nothing can stop me. I have what it takes. If I can do it, if I can cultivate this habit, this discipline little by little, Rome wasn't built in a day and all that shit, then so can you. You just have to believe in yourself. Everything's more meaningful now. And you know what? This is not a sacrifice. This is not me standing in my desk. I mean, I'm not in pain right now as I stand and record this. This is actually okay. You know, I'm stretching, and so I'm being very mindful and careful about my posture at all times. But everything's more meaningful now. This work is even more meaningful to me now because it shows I'm proving to myself that in spite of my pain, in spite of my excuses and life circumstances, that I'm doing the right thing. I'm taking the time to be on my path, that I'm on the right track, that I'm putting the work in and making those tedious little actions, chiseling away at the rock until something incredible emerges. In order to do this, discipline is required, and we are nothing without discipline. I'll close with this. Ralph Waldo Emerson, from his essay, Self-Reliance, one of my favorite pieces of writing ever, very influential to me. He says, insist on yourself. Never imitate. Your own gift you can present every moment with the cumulative force of a whole life's cultivation. But of the adopted talent of another, you have only an extemporaneous half possession. That which each can do best, none but his maker can teach him. No man yet knows what it or can till that person has exhibited it. Where is the master who could have taught Shakespeare? Where is the master who could have instructed Franklin or Washington or Bacon or Newton? Every great man is a unique. The Scipianism of Scipio is precisely that part he could not borrow. Shakespeare will never be made by the study of Shakespeare. Do that which is assigned you, and you cannot hope too much or dare too much. There is at this moment for you an utterance brave and grand as that of the colossal chisel of Phidias, or trowel of the Egyptians, or the pen of Moses or Dante, but different from all of these. Not possibly will the soul, all rich, all eloquent, with thousand-cloven tongue, deign to repeat itself. But if you can hear what these patriarchs say, surely you can reply to them in the same pitch of voice, for the ear and the tongue are two organs of one nature. Abide in the simple and noble regions of thy life. Obey thy heart, and thou shalt reproduce the foreworld again. This is what I'm doing with this podcast. I'm sharing this with you. I've read this essay over and over again, and it's been a huge inspiration for me to even start this podcast. I gotta be my own master. I gotta put something out there in the world of my own. This is me distilling what's within my mind and heart. That utterance, brave and grand, as the colossal phallus of Phidias, the colossal chisel of Phidias, or trowel of the Egyptians, or the pen of Moses, or Dante, or Emerson. I shall reproduce the foreworld again, motherfucker. But let's say I cannot reproduce le foreworld again. LOL. So, is my effort for naught? Nay, I say to thee, that my work, as John the Baptist, may hail the forthcoming of the Messiah. Maybe you're listening to this and you end up starting your own mime time. Maybe your name is Ryan and you call it Rhyme Time, which doesn't sound as cool, but you reach, 10 million subscribers and you have a way greater impact than I could ever have. Well, then that's more than I could have ever hoped for. That would be amazing. And even though Mime Time is a way cooler name, I would still subscribe to Ryan Time and support. So yeah, no one is coming to save you, just like no one is coming to save my back, my poor back. I have the strength, the discipline, and the fortitude within to take all the action and take all the countless steps necessary to achieve my goals and fulfill my vision. So, in spite of my back injury, it's good to be back into pursuing my main goal, walking the path, because there's no going back. I may have only one back, but I also only have one life. So I'll take good care of my back while still getting back to chiseling out that giant block of stone until I sculpt a glorious, pristine form of a perfectly healed back and ass. That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you got something out of it, please, please, please share it with a friend. As always, I'll have more interviews and solo episodes coming up, so stay tuned until I come back with another episode. All right, peace.